VPN ban, iPhone and Android privacy nightmare is coming true. Now, Forbes recently posted this article and it really speaks to how dangerous these VPN bans are becoming. Now, you may not be aware of a VPN ban because for some reason, the mainstream media in the US really is not covering this. Around 20 states in the US, and of course the UK as well, we'll get to that, are looking at banning VPNs. Now, there's two ways in which they're trying to do this, either banning you from owning and using a VPN or banning platforms from allowing connections from VPNs. For example, if you visit Twitter from a VPN, they would ask Twitter to ban you from using the platform, to ban that connection. Now, the very nature of a VPN means that, yes, websites can see if traffic is coming from a known VPN IP address, but they can't figure out anything else. They can't figure out where you're from, they can't figure out any of the details, and that's why a lot of these VPN bans aren't really going to work, but the very fact that they exist at all is going to affect the entire internet. Your privacy is now under threat, and it's time to be concerned. For years, we've seen even better protection of personal digital privacy. Apple led the way with the iPhone, but then Google started to follow with Android. But now everything is changing. End-to-end encrypted messaging, lockdown file storage, killing tracking cookies, online anonymity, email security. Brick by brick, the walls that had been erected around our digital lives are now vulnerable, and it's getting worse. And this can be seen in our everyday life. We have the UK government going head to head with Apple, trying to remove encryption from iCloud and iMessage. Yes, our British government have pretty much point blank said that they want to access our text messages and our iCloud backups, and they even slapped a gag order on Apple so they couldn't talk about it. We only know about it from the court case that followed. And earlier this year in the UK, when they introduced the Online Safety Act, some leaked correspondence came out about some plans to ban VPNs in the UK, and of course this sent the internet into a frenzy, and then the government said, oh no, we're not intending to ban VPNs. But wait for it. Device-side message screening is gaining political momentum, while the UK has led the charge in dismantling warrant-proof encryption when it comes to file storage. Meanwhile, Google has reversed the deprecation of tracking cookies, unbanned digital fingerprinting, and unleashed its all-seeing Gemini AI on users' Gmail inboxes. The latest privacy technology in the legislative crosshairs is VPNs. These secure tunnels route web traffic to and from devices via third-party servers. Their use is now surging, driven largely by porn bans and age verification checks, where users can pretend to be in different countries to skirt around new laws and internet policing. And if you are looking for a fantastic VPN to help keep yourself protected online, make sure to check out private internet access at the link down below. There's strictly no logs, they don't share your information with governments, and it's one subscription for all of your devices. And with that link or this QR code here, you can get yourselves 4 months free and 86% off. Politicians have now discovered that people are using VPNs to protect their privacy and bypass these invasive laws. Their solution: entirely ban the use of VPNs. The two bellwethers are unlikely bedfellows, the state of Wisconsin in the US and the United Kingdom. Wisconsin lawmakers are escalating their war on privacy by targeting VPNs in the name of protecting children, EFF explains. If it becomes law, Wisconsin could become the first state where using a VPN to access certain content is banned. Now, to be clear, this law is in progress in the US and it's passed its first 2 stages. Now, when it comes to VPN bans, that is the furthest any law has got in the US to pass. And while that is happening, both Michigan, Arizona, Ohio, and other states are all following suit by submitting their plans to either ban VPNs or ban the connection to VPNs to certain websites. So i.e. either you're not allowed to use a VPN or a website has to block your access if you are using a VPN. Now, as I said at the start of the video, the nature of a VPN is that if you're using a VPN in Wisconsin, they won't know you're in Wisconsin. So essentially, the website would have to ban VPN connections for everyone in the entire world in the hope that maybe they catch the bad guy in Wisconsin using a VPN. Absolutely dystopian. Absolutely mental. The UK is following a similar path, leaking government thinking on VPN restrictions or age verification requirements to gauge public reaction. This follows its own online safety laws early this year, mandating age verification to access adult content. Now, earlier this year, when the Online Safety Act came into effect, the first bit of news that we heard that followed it was the potential idea to ban VPNs in the UK. Now, loads of media covered this very heavily, and obviously YouTube has picked up on those articles and we covered it too. And then just a couple of days later, every single media outlet had to redact their statements and edit them because they're saying that apparently the leaked correspondence that came out from the government was fake. Well, it's now being alleged that actually the government did intend to leak it, and what they wanted to do was gauge public reaction to the ban of VPNs. And to be honest, this wouldn't be the first time the British government has done this. They'll basically send some internal emails, they'll leak it to the media intentionally to see what would happen if that was to happen, to see what the backlash is, and then they decide whether it's something that they could pursue or whether the backlash would cost the Labour Party too much if they tried to institute that change. So the theory now is that it wasn't a mistake from the media. The government were actually trying to gauge interest to see whether there was too much backlash to banning VPNs. The problem is, just like porn bans, that this is a dangerous path that misunderstands how the global internet works and the curbing of personal freedoms that would be required to change that. Just look at China, Russia, Iran and North Korea. This is actually happening and it's going to be a disaster for everyone, EFF says of this privacy nightmare. Demanding websites block VPN users from Wisconsin is asking for something that is technically impossible. Websites have no way to tell if a VPN connection is coming from Milwaukee, Michigan or Mumbai. It's that same misunderstanding that makes porn bans useless. The technology just doesn't work that way. Now, it's been reported that Cornhub, I have to say that I'm trying to keep advertisers on this channel. It would be nice to make some pennies occasionally. They're reporting that 70% of their users are down in the UK, whilst reporting that other countries are up. What does that mean? No, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden France has really got used to jacking it. What's actually happening is that people in the UK are using VPNs to connect to other countries to be able to access these websites. So yes, the UK is down, and obviously Ofcom have said, wow, it's working, we're saving children. But in reality, what's happening here is that no, people are just connecting through a VPN, and therefore the data of who's using certain websites is just going through a secure tunnel to another country and showing traffic coming from those other countries. Now, I can't give you exact data on what percentage of people are actually using VPNs to circumvent like the Online Safety Act or anything, because the great thing about VPNs is that we just don't know, and that's brilliant. So what would happen? Websites subject to this proposed law are left with the choice: either cease operation in Wisconsin or block all VPN users. And that means one state's terrible law is attempting to break VPN access for the entire internet. And the unintended consequences of this provision could far outweigh any theoretical benefit. And I will tell you for a fact now what is going to happen. These social media companies and adult related companies and games will pull out of Wisconsin. They've got two options: annoy the people of Wisconsin or shaft all of their users around the world. It is a no-brainer. So people in Wisconsin are basically going to lose access to an absolute ton of websites and services because of this. And if by some strange chance a website decides to ban VPN users for the entire world and just to appease the law in Wisconsin, well, they're going to lose millions, hundreds of millions, hundreds of thousands, whatever it might be, of dollars a year from the rest of the world, depending how big the site is. Watch this space. Governments around the world have developed a taste for what EFF describes as intelligence dressed up as safety. Serious, organised crime and even terrorism didn't convince the public opinion that draconian measures are warranted. So all of these new rules are now tagged as online child safety. That's harder to argue. The answer to how we keep kids safe online isn't destroying everyone's privacy. And this is something that's so important. We talk now about protecting the children, but in a couple of years, those children are going to be adults. And those adults aren't going to have their privacy intact online. So yes, you can say that you're protecting children now, even though the data actually speaks quite the contrary to that. And we've discussed that in previous videos. But when those children become adults, they're going to enter into a digital landscape that once was at a point where people had relative control of their privacy. There's so many services out there, things like private internet access or tools like Incogni, where you can actually basically regain control of some of your privacy online. You can take that back into your hands. Because we now understand some of the dangers of the internet, we're now getting to the point where the tech to keep safe is actually keeping up with the internet at an okay pace. What this would do is actually set us back 15 years and create a digital landscape that is not only dangerous, but also a bit terrifying, especially with the conflict that's going on around the world at the moment. As a nation, we're not sure what countries we can trust. Basically, if we remove VPNs, we become a prime target for any enemy state. Now, let's just add another layer to this. Digital identification. So once we basically remove secure encrypted tunnels and then we introduce digital identification that is stored in databases, oof, yeah, that's not a world that we want to live in. Very keen to hear what you guys think about this in the comments down below. If you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to like and subscribe and check out private internet access while you're at it. Get 4 months free and 86% off. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.